We have Surefire Local, who's one of our top digital marketing vendors in the CCT program. Today, we have a group of panelists to answer all of your digital marketing questions. So with that being said, I'm going to hand this off to Michelle to introduce the group. Hi, Michelle.
Great. Hi, thank you guys so much. So as a GF Vendor of the Year for 2017, we are very honored to be hosting this Hardworking Digital Marketing Q&A. And like they said, my name is Michelle Letman, and I will be fielding all of your questions to today's panel. So before we move into the discussions, I want to introduce our panel of experts here. We have Bob Sheehan, who is today's search optimization expert, Jeff White, who is the ratings and review expert, and Aisha Taylor, who is the Google AdWords expert. Bob, Jeff, and Aisha were all kind enough to give us questions that they received from GF contractors, whether that's at an event or on a call with a client. So, and at the end, we will be giving away a Google Home Mini speaker to one lucky attendee, and all you have to do is ask a question to qualify. So we're going to move on to the discussion, and these will be all the topics that we will be covering today. So with that, I will ask our panel our first question, and that is, what is the most common digital marketing question you hear from professionals in the roofing industry? This is up for anyone.
Anyone can go for it. All right. So, it's generally, how can I increase my lead flow? That's where we start, and we, to answer that question, basically say, we start it with the fundamentals. So it's about establishing a healthy digital footprint is where you need to start, and then we can get more tactical. But there are foundational elements from a website to your business directory listings to your review health is where to start, and then you build upon that foundation.
Great. All right, we'll move on to a question here. So this one could be for Bob. How much traffic should I get to my website, and what percentage should convert into a lead?
Well, I'll probably start with the second question first. We typically see lead conversion in the 2 to 5% area. Sometimes we see it a little bit higher than that if it's a lot of branded traffic, like people who are actually looking for you directly. But when we see organic traffic and non-branded traffic, that generally is around 2 to 5%. How much traffic you should get really depends on a lot of factors. It depends on how dominant you are in your marketplace, how big your marketplace is, how active your market is, what business you're in, and there's a lot of different factors. So that's really not a question that you could answer generically. We would have to really look at what's going on with your business specifically.
Great, thanks so much, Bob. So this one we'll move on to AdWords, and Aisha, you can answer this question. So what's the most important information you need to include in your AdWords ad?
I would definitely say that your ad is probably the most important part of your AdWords campaign, because you need to have the right information for your users, and you need to be able to, this is how you're attracting people and actually getting them to engage, actually click on your ad. What you need to make sure that you have in your ad is whatever it is that you're trying to advertise for. For example, it's ads, ad groups, and keywords within an AdWords campaign. If you have an ad group that is basically just for your roofing company keywords, you need to make sure that roofing company is within your ad copy, so that when someone goes and sees your ad, they know exactly what they're getting. And you also need to make sure that your landing page reflects your ad copy.
Great answer. So this can kind of either be for Jeff or Aisha. What is better, PPC or SEO? Which tactic should I place my marketing dollars?
So the answer is yes. And meaning there isn't. It's not so much which one is better, but it's really about kind of going back to my first answers. You establish a foundation, then the question becomes, well, what can I do additionally beyond that? paid search, you know, a lot of times we're standing up a paid search campaign when a customer comes on board, but for customers of ours, we're starting out just focusing on those foundational elements. Once we add in paid search, it's a nice complement. So basically you're going after people who are, you know, proactively searching either for you specifically or what it is that you offer as a service. And basically paid search is one of the best advertising channels out there. Based on the visibility you get with it, in terms of, you know, what you're paying for and what you're getting, all the way down to an ROI. So it's great when you have both those tools in your advertising toolbox. And then, you know, again, don't stop there. It's about having a very you know, good mix of marketing activities that are boosting your business visibility and overall revenue. So never look at it as which one is better. It's about putting together a really good marketing mix.
Great. Well, if anyone was thinking the same thing, hopefully that answered your question. So we will move on to Bob. How do we stay relevant in different towns and cities in our service area?
Well, we use a number of tactics in order to do that. One of the ways we do it is to set up an area, right? So we do that with the way we mock up the website. It's called schema, and where we kind of tell Google, you know, where we want to do business in a sense by mocking up the content. We use that along with Google My Business to set a radius around the business and make sure that we're going to be visible in the area that we're supposed to be. And then frequently what we'll do is we'll stand up what we call area pages or you know, areas served, or, you know, locality kind of pages. So, you know, we may talk about what kind of business we do in certain towns and zip codes around the marketplace. In addition to that, we have an app called GeoJuice, and what GeoJuice does is it allows us to check in a lot of those places. So in a sense, what we're doing is we're taking that photo check-in from the jobs, and we're putting that on certain pages on the website, and that gives a signal to the search engines that, you know, this is where we do business, and that really helps the website to show up in the places where we want it to.
Great, thanks, Bob. This one is for Aisha. How do I track my results, and what are the differences between the number of clicks, the number of impressions, and number of leads that I can see on my PPC report?
Okay, so it's a lot of different tools you can use to track your results. But first, before you do that, you definitely need to understand what you're looking at when you're tracking it. So metrics are important to follow and understand. For clicks, you know, of course, that's how many clicks you got on your specific advertisement. Impressions is how many times your ad was shown. And leads, of course, we know what leads actually are, but it depends on the campaign type, so it can be a number of things. But to track those actual metrics, it's so many different tools that you can use as far as, you know, Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Pixels on Facebook, or if you are a Surefire Local client, you can just log into one platform and see it all within our Marketing Cloud.
Excellent. All right, Jeff, does the number of positive Google reviews affect your placement on Google?
It does. But it's not as simple as that. Meaning, yes, obviously you want 5-star rating, but just be aware that 5-star ratings can also be hard to achieve. Obviously, especially after you've collected beyond your first couple of reviews, and inevitably something's going to come in that's going to kind of pop the balloon if you are batting 1,000. But batting 1,000 also doesn't look too legit, if you will. But there are other factors again beyond that star rating. So my point is, don't get hung up on it. whether it's 5.0, 4.9, 4.8, and so on. It's more about the quantity, the consistency, and then just the overall quality, as opposed to a perfect score. And then to the point that Bob had mentioned about service area, reviews are also a way where you can communicate about your service area. So if people are reviewing, Google is looking at that. Where are they? Where are they from? What is their review profile like? Do they review a lot? So all that and many other factors kind of add up into that overall quality rating and opinion that Google forms about you.
Great. All right. Well, we'll move on to the next question for Bob. Which platform should I focus on when acquiring reviews?
We like to spread reviews around. We think the best way to do it is to be in a lot of different places. But obviously we want to start with Google. We want to make sure that the Google My Business review piece is covered as well as we can, and that we have some level of consistency and velocity going on there. But we don't think that's the only thing. Google is now looking at all of the different review sites and bringing that all into Google My Business and kind of putting it all in one place. So we do think it's important to be, have a lot in Google, but not everything. We like to spread it around. We think that makes a better presentation. We think that customers see reviews in a lot of different places, so you get that social proof, and you get that kind of endorsement from customers no matter where they look, and we like to encourage that.
Great. Okay, another one for you, Bob. How do I determine where I can get the best bang for my buck?
In what? In the different things that we don't look at it as an and/or kind of a situation. We look at it like Jeff alluded to it earlier, and I think he said it really well. To set up the baseline of everything that you're going to do, and what we think that is a properly structured website, a set of directory listings that is consistent across all of the listings, and we do that with Yext, and there are a number of ways to do that, and then an SEO program that's designed to make that all kind of fit together and make it visible, right? Beyond that, there's a lot of different things to do, and what we try to encourage people to do is to continue to layer on things as you see success. That we don't move from one thing to another and kind of jump around. We bring more things to bear. So in my mind, it's and rather than and/or, right? I start from a place of I want to do as much as I can, because when we find ways to leverage all of that activity, small businesses can look very big, and that really helps to get additional traffic and additional leads on a website.
And I was just going to add to that, Bob, which is, sometimes I'll have conversations and it'll go like this, I tried X and it didn't work. I tried Y and it didn't work. And it's not so much that it didn't work, it's that, they were shopping for a silver bullet, and there isn't one. And again, it goes back to a mixture of activities that you're doing on the organic and advertising side, and then, as we mentioned, expanding that as you see results, and then fine-tuning it once you are doing things as far as where you're finding the best quality leads, the best return on those leads, and fine-tuning that way.
Yep, agreed.
All right, thank you both. The next question we have here is for Aisha. What is the rule of thumb regarding web page layout to make it the most effective?
Let's see. So as far as your landing page is concerned, you definitely have to make sure that it's user-friendly and that it's easy to navigate, and that you have all the information clear and concise, so that when users come, it's easy for them to fill out. They don't have to go very far to find what exactly they're needing at that moment. Today we're super impatient. We want things, as quickly as possible, and we don't want to do that much to get it. We want it right there. So making sure that your layout is consistent. If you're doing paid ads, make sure that the ad copy matches up with the landing page, and that once users get to the landing page, make sure it's easy to either, fill out the form or just find any information that they need, and it definitely matters as far as your device. So make sure that your desktop version is great, and make sure that your mobile layout is also on point and easy to use.
And I'll just add one other thing to that point. Aisha and her team help us out a great deal when it comes to advertising, that even before they arrive at a very well-designed landing page that we provide our customers, Google is trying to make it so that there's not a need to go to the landing page. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And so our advertising team is great at taking advantage of Google tools within the ad unit, such as for mobile searchers, click to call, things like that, because we're in a mobile-centric world. Google is looking at everything from a mobile-first standpoint, and so there's no need to go to websites as much as there used to be, because again, that searcher can interact with you right from the ad or right from your Google My Business listing.
Great, thanks so much. So we'll move on to the next question. This one could be for Bob. What tips do you have for keeping lead volume consistent across seasons?
That's an interesting question. Depending on the business, a lot of the businesses that we work on are seasonal, and so we like to make sure that we have offers that reflect the seasons. Frequently we'll have a company that does multiple products, right? I think a lot of the roofers that we work with also do things like siding and replacement windows and gutters, and all of those things have seasonality to them, and so we want to make sure that the offers that we're putting on a website reflect the seasonality of the products that we're trying to sell. I think that's one way to make sure that we get as much as we can. The other thing that I think about with seasonality is that I don't try to change it. Like I don't try to have a great December if I'm in the replacement window business. I'd much rather work on having a great April or May, because that's when the ducks are flying, right? So I work the seasonality, with my customers to a place where, when the business is there, we go after getting a bigger share of it, and that's a really good way to grow a business. If you're trying to do that in months when it doesn't, the business isn't there, when the customers aren't looking, then you find that you don't get the kind of results that you need. So it's about being in the right season, in the right businesses, and kind of playing along with the flow of the marketplace, and then putting additional resources against those months and those businesses when they're actually active.
Great, thanks, Bob. So this next one is for Jeff. In general, is there a particular social media platform that is best or most efficient in reaching the largest number of potential clients?
So we focus on Facebook, Twitter, sites such as LinkedIn, and it's not so much where are they. It's about being active across social sites, and put it in the context of a digital footprint, that it's more than just your website. There are other elements within that digital footprint, so it's important to have your website connected to social sites, so you've got a couple, so across sites like Facebook, and then you are active on those social sites in terms of creating content, or content that you create is syndicated on those social sites, and you want all that strung together, because that's throwing off positive signals that Google is observing, and Google is factoring in its overall opinion of you. And then if you are interested in taking advantage, from an advertising standpoint, Facebook can be good, especially from its targeting opportunities, but just be aware that people on social sites, those aren't destinations or avenues in which to go generate leads. Rather, they're good sources from a branding opportunity, and making people aware. Bob mentioned our GeoJuice tool, and it's great at communicating the service area that you're working in. That GeoJuice tool can also automatically when you create a GeoJuice check-in, automatically post what you're doing, so you're showing off your work. You're not trying to generate a lead, but if you're active on Facebook by showing off your work, that's certainly a way to build brand awareness, drive traffic to your site, and eventually somebody picking up that phone and calling you just based on those best practices.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So before I move on to the next question, I just want to mention that we want to hear your questions. So if you want, you can put them right into the chat box, and we'll have Bob, Jeff, and Aisha answer them. So the next one is for Aisha. How are PPC budgets determined, and how is the recommended budget determined?
So the budget for your campaign definitely depends. It's no set number. It definitely depends on your industry and exactly who you're trying to target. It depends on, if you're in a larger city, then of course you should start off at a bigger budget versus a small town. So it definitely depends on all of those factors. I would definitely say I always suggest a minimum of $1,000 a month in spend just to start off, because you want to give yourself enough money to spend so that you have enough data to optimize for. You want to have a great amount of traffic, and I feel like starting off at a minimum of $1,000 for media spend will give you enough traffic, enough engagement so that you can continue to optimize your campaign going forward. But you need to be able to bring in enough to look at. Jeff, do you suggest anything differently?
So in part of that is you help us out with what is just the opportunity, and Google's great at providing that insight, right? And when we look at the opportunity, what we're really talking about is the search volume. So if you're a roofer in a particular geographic area, it's pretty easy to find out how many searches are out there, what the relative cost would be, and then depending on the amount of data that's there and the amount of advertisers, it is possible that Google could then also share some market research type of info, like who is advertising in your area. Then it gets real helpful in terms of forming a budget and what it would take, not just to get started, but to actually be competitive in a particular area, what the relative cost would be, and then do some projections all the way down to, based on how your website's performing, what potential lead generation from that advertising activity would be. So that's also how we kind of approach that as well.
Great. Oh, Bob, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna kind of take the other end of that question, and rather than kind of looking at it from the standpoint of where do I start, we have a lot of customers who kind of once they dial in the number, like for instance, if you ask the question, if I can get you a lead at your number, at the number that makes sense for you, how many of them would you buy? And when we look at it from that standpoint, we end up seeing customers really heavying up on that kind of stuff because they get a consistent lead cost and they get a lead flow that can really help them grow their business. So, I tend to look at it with people not as much about an expenditure as an investment. And that if I can fix my lead cost at, I don't know, $120 for a roofing lead, and I can get that consistently across the season, as a business person, we see a lot of people that just say, okay, how many more of those can I get, right? How much do I need to keep going here? Let's keep it moving. And as long as the expenditure is generating the lead cost that you need and ultimately the ROI that you need, pushing that envelope as far as you possibly can. And it's a really good way to grow a business.
Great, thank you guys. We actually just got 2 questions from the audience. The first one is from Christy, and she wants to know the thoughts on using chat box to communicate with people reaching out. This can be for anyone.
Jeff, you should take that. You've got particular experience in that one.
Yeah, so we've been seeing good results with chat, and we're also seeing studies say that website visitors are more inclined to interact with the business website via chat tools. But I've had clients implement chat, and we've watched what the effect is on their website conversion rate. Meaning, okay, if I add chat, am I just going to simply see my form submits go down or my phone calls go down because people are going to interact more with me over chat? What we found was that, about a 5 to 15% lift in leads based on adding chat. So what definitely wasn't cannibalizing. It turns out that it is a good addition to squeeze more leads out of your website visitors, and frankly it's the future. So there are some tools out there where not only can you use the chat tool on your website, but it'll also be the same chat tool that you can integrate into your Google My Business listing or into your Facebook Messenger. And so you've simplified from that standpoint. You've got one tool, one kind of person behind that tool that's monitoring and ready for any conversation, regardless of where somebody wants to interact with your business, on your website, on your Google My Business listing, on Facebook. So it's definitely something to consider.
Great, thank you. Hopefully that answered your question, Christy. The next one is from Sarah, and she wants to know, what is the biggest no-no you see people do with AdWords or SEO?
I would say not starting off with a well-structured campaign. And when I say this, I'm talking about the way that you set up your ad groups, the keywords that you select, and your overall ad copy. Having your campaign set up correctly definitely matters because, for example, if you have, roofing maintenance keywords that you want to bid on within AdWords, you need to make sure that those keywords are grouped together and have ads that reflect that, but then you also should have separate ad groups, for example, just roofing company in general keywords, so that your ads can be related to that, because you want to make sure that your ads are as relevant as possible to what the user is typing in into Google, so that you can always provide the best user experience as possible within Google. So I feel like that is the foundation of all of it, but also making sure that you have negative keywords within your campaign as well, because and negative keywords are keywords that you don't want your ads to display for. That might be similar to your products or services. This is random, but I'm thinking about like electrician, they have a campaign running. They might add the electric slide to their negative keyword list. Just because it has electric, they might have an electric ad group within that campaign, but they don't want to show up for people searching for that. So having those type of keywords listed within your campaign as well is very good to have. And I noticed that a lot of people don't necessarily know about negative keywords, or they don't necessarily understand it. And that's something that I always suggest for my clients to do, and I do personally for my clients as well.
Thanks, Aisha. That was great. So we will move on to a next question here. This can be for Bob. Which social media platforms should we use? And should we be advertising on social media too?
We've seen success on a lot of different platforms. It really depends on the business. I think I go back to the way I talked about this earlier, by taking an and approach to this rather than an and/or, right? Try to be active in social media, try to be natural there, try to extend the reach of your business into places like Facebook and Twitter and Google My Business and LinkedIn and places like that just kind of gives people a different way to see you, right? And in social, that way is more human and natural and people oriented, and customers really like that. So we try to take our program, like our program is built to distribute content that we produce on the website out through the social media and provide that initial base of activity that's happening there. And then we find that when customers do more on their own, when they interact with social on their own, that helps even more. And we see those kinds of accounts doing better than the accounts that just kind of don't do very much at all. So it's not a post and get a lead kind of a thing, but it's like, if you're active in social media, you do tend to see those clients doing better. As far as the advertising piece of that goes, I think it's important to just keep the expectations real. That I don't think, Facebook advertising is ever going to be the same kind of thing that AdWords is, for instance, but it is a nice little cherry on top that you can use to get additional leads when people are looking for certain things. Or we've actually found that, for instance, Facebook can be good for help wanted, right? When you're looking for people to work with you, many of those folks, you can kind of go after a certain type of person on Facebook, and it's a different way to look for a job, and we've seen people have success with that. So I think there's all kinds of different uses for it, and we just got to remember what the goals are and keep the expectations in the right place, and I think everything will be good.
Thanks, Bob. We got another question from Christy, and she wants to know, where is the best place to learn about AdWords? She is new to handling it and looking to learn as much as she can to keep our results up from it.
Well, Google has this thing called Google Academy. I feel like that's a good tool to use if you want to learn more about how to operate AdWords and different tricks that you can do, or you can ask us.
And going back to that point, that it's a bit painful when we do bring a customer on board and we come into that situation where we're assessing their campaign and getting into things like negative keywords and seeing that there's things that were missed, because AdWords on its own is pretty complicated from a tool standpoint. There's something called AdWords Express, which is a much lighter tool from Google, but AdWords is pretty robust. And when you get into those negative keywords and targeting, geographic targeting elements, it hurts when we kind of get into a customer that was running it himself, herself, or had another group doing it. We come across where they were spending money on clicks that weren't even in their service area, or paying for keyword clicks that had nothing to do with the business that they have and the services that they're offering. So just a word of caution, but yeah, whether it's through Google or just online, there's a lot of resources out there to certainly get you going. But I just throw out that word of caution.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning here too with AdWords that everybody that we have in the business who talks to customers has to be AdWords certified. That's part of our partnership with Google. We are premier partners with Google, and in order to maintain that status, everybody who talks to a customer has to be AdWords certified. So when you have a question, it's very easy just to talk to your strategist about what the question might be, and you'll get a real answer. The people that we have talking to customers, they know this stuff at a level that is they're giving you the real answer. They're not guessing.
Great, thank you all. We got another great question from Sherry, and she wants to know, what is the better platform to use, lead generation or Google ranking?
So I think I know, Sherry, what your question is. I'm gonna try to recraft it, but you're speaking about organic, and that goes back to my first comment as we started this, which is the foundational elements. Those foundational elements will get you ranking on Google, but it's also one of those things where it's not always obvious as what those foundational elements are. For example, how to build a best practice website. There could be things that are simply missed. Bob had mentioned structured data. That's just simply a wrapper around certain keywords, whether it's reviews on your website, whether it's your NAP information, your business name, address, and phone number. If that's wrapped in schema, these are all signals that just helps Google find you much more easily. And so that's how to get your rank established and ideally on page one search result. And then when it comes to lead generation, I'm going to say that's more from an advertising standpoint, right? So that's where our recommendation is you got to start with the foundation and then add in your advertising on top of that. And then the timing is based on your budget. We find great results when customers come on board. We're able to build them brand new website to best standard specs, start them off with advertising, and then the advertising can also be instrumental, especially when we deal with things such as seasonality and helping our customers hit their lead goals.
Excellent. All right. Hopefully that answered your question, Sherry. Okay, we have another one from Lisa. What do you find is best information to be putting on businesses' Facebook page, and what do you feel sponsoring ads on Facebook is more annoying, or is it more receptive to the audience?
I feel like with Facebook, the good thing about, well, the second portion of that question, with the ads, the good thing about Facebook is it might be, I guess if you're looking at it in an annoying way, the way that Facebook is, you can target people who are interested in your products or services. So it's not really, I feel like, will be annoying. It's more so of getting in front of their faces, and if this is what they're interested in anyway, it's something that they wouldn't mind seeing. And it also promotes brand awareness. It also is another opportunity for you to drive traffic to your website. So I would definitely always recommend to do ads within Facebook or any other social media platform. As far as the information that you need to have on your Facebook page, I feel like I look at businesses who have took the time to complete everything a little better, because you have the information that you are looking for right there. Making sure that you have, for example, your business hours, the directions to your location, having reviews, photos, making sure that you are engaging in conversations on your page, and that you are actually updating your profile as often as you can. All matters as far as I feel like Facebook pages, business pages are concerned, just because it lets people know that you are active on social media. And for me, that's a good sign that I want to do business with them, or that if I reach out to them, I'll get an answer sooner than later. So it all ties together, and I feel like it's best to take the opportunity to do both if you can.
Excellent. We got another request from Jacqueline, and she wants to know, she missed the webinar on Tuesday, and she wants to know like a quick rundown of what the GeoJuice tool is that we mentioned earlier. So either maybe Bob or Jack.
I'll do that.
Okay.
GeoJuice it's an iPhone or an Android application, right? You download it from the store and put it on the phone, and we give you a password on that. And what that allows you to do is take a picture of the job, and then when you submit that picture, right, when you send that picture through the GeoJuice app, it lands on a page on the website in a way that identifies the longitude and latitude of that place, right? It puts a geo stamp on that image. And that image also comes with comments, so you can talk about the kind of job that you did there. And we find that what that does is we actually see those things show up in search sometimes, where people will be searching for roofing in North Andover, Mass, and there's my GeoJuice check-in that I did last week. That happens. But we also see what happens is that over the course of time, as you do lots of these GeoJuice check-ins, what you're doing is you're establishing your marketplace within the geography, so that it's an extra geographic or a location signal that comes from the website and tells the search engines where you want to be doing business, and therefore where you want to be present in search, right? It's just another way for us to help you be present in your local marketplace. In addition, the GeoJuice app allows for a review to happen, so you can actually take a video review or a text review and get 5 stars and have that land right on the website as well. So we find that's a valuable way. It makes it easier for customers to do these things. So if you'd like to hear more about GeoJuice, we could do a demo for you. There's a lot more than what I just said, but we could do a demo for you anytime you'd like to see it.
And just tying it back to Aisha's point about Facebook, the other thing we can do with GeoJuice is automatically tie it into your Facebook page. So not only is that GeoJuice check-in publishing to your website automatically from your phone, but then it continues on to Facebook, and you're keeping your Facebook feed up to date with, ideally, you're simply showing off your work, right? You're showing off projects in around your service area. And so it's a great content creation tool, real easy to use. So we've got groups of whether it's salespeople, whether it's installers out in the field, people back at the office. It's a real simple tool to use and scalable in terms of creating rich content that is added to your website and Facebook feed.
Great. Thank you for that. That was great. I hope that was very useful for you guys too on the seminar here. So we will do a few more questions. I know we're getting to the top of the hour, and then we will move on to a few other things that we have before we end. So this question can be for Jeff. I keep receiving calls from Google that there's something wrong with my listing. What should I do?
You can ignore it. So Google doesn't call people. So it's simply a sales call, and they're pretending to be Google, hoping to scare you into hiring them for their services. With that said, you should make sure you understand your Google listing, what it is, where it is. So if you're not sure, call us. We can help you out. But the first question is, do you have access to your Google My Business listing? If you do, great. 2, if you don't, and if when you search for your business and on the Google search results page on the right-hand side, if it says do you own this business, your Google My Business listing is unclaimed, and that is a huge missed opportunity in terms of going back to what I mentioned, the foundational elements of making sure you've got everything in place. So that Google My Business listing is your digital anchor on the internet and a direct way to communicate to Google. And then from there, if you've got control of it, then you want to be optimizing it, and optimizing it means keeping it in good shape. So once you've got access to it, make sure you're in there and you're frequently updating it and making sure everything is accurate.
Great, thank you. And Lisa made a comment saying, you mean I'm not the only one getting calls from Google? Is there a way to get them to stop calling?
I get 10 of those calls a week, and I don't know. I don't know how to stop them. I think they're just going to keep calling, unfortunately.
All right. So we'll do one more question here, unless we get some other questions from the audience. So what's the best way to address a negative review from an unhappy customer?
So I'll take that one, which is, one is respond, right? And it goes back to that point about your perfect score. It's normal, it's natural, it's human not to be perfect. So just like you should be responding to your positive reviews, you should be responding to the negative reviews. When you respond to a negative review, what you want to do is, one, take the emotion out of it, and then try to take it offline. So it's a very kind of measured response, and then if you've got that, if you recognize the individual, if they're in your database, and then you're just simply saying, hey, thank you very much for the feedback. I'm going to call you to learn more, and then the ultimate goal is, once you've connected with that person, ideally you're able to resolve what their the negative feedback, what their issue is. You're able to resolve it, and in the context, in the conversation, or ultimately if it is something needed to be fixed, or if they were just confused. For example, sometimes people get confused that it's may not be your business, but let's just say you do connect, and and then just simply ask them once their issue has been resolved, can we change that 1-star to a 5-star? And I've seen that happen. My customers have gone through that process and worked their way into getting that negative review edited into a positive review.
Great, thank you, Jeff, and thank you everyone for your participation. There's been so many great questions today, and before we end things here, I do want to actually let Jeff go through, sorry, stepped too far ahead there. I want to let Jeff go through the 10 action steps to implement today.
Right. So great questions that we've received, and so I hope you got good info from all our input and answers to your questions. But right here, 10 steps that you can implement today, and we've touched upon some of these, but let me go through each of them. So number one, as I just mentioned, if you don't have access to your Google My Business listing, go get it, go claim it. Consistency as far as that NAP information. NAP stands for your business name, address, and phone number, making sure that on Google My Business, if it's Roofing Company Inc., make sure it says Roofing Company Inc. You want to be very consistent with how your business information appears, not only on your website, on your Google My Business listings, but anywhere else on the web, which speaks to point number 3. And again, that NAP reference. Point number 4, when you do have the ability to have your business information on multiple directories like all our clients do, we use a directory listing management tool so that 60 to 70 directories have our clients' NAP information locked down, protected, and managed, and those end up becoming powerful backlinks as well, because beyond the content on your website, links are an important ranking factor. We touched upon reviews and how important it is, and the big 3, Google, Facebook, and Yelp, but there's others out there, such as Houzz, and Google's looking at all this review content to help form an opinion about your business. Number 6, as far as going back to that important ranking factor of content, and we talked about GeoJuice as an example of a real easy way to create relevant content by you or anybody on your team is important. So even if you don't have GeoJuice, that's something that you can do as far as crafting a blog article or going to your Facebook feed and posting something new. So again, 7 speaks to that point, and as far as any announcements that you might have, and then number 8 kind of speaks to how Facebook is evolving, meaning it used to be not simply about adding content to your website and getting likes, but today it's even more important to share based on how Facebook is evolving. It's not just about getting likes, but it's about getting interaction with that content on your Facebook page, and sharing is the best way to do that. We see a lot of exposure to our clients' content when they get shares in addition to likes. And then, as GAF roofers, you've got a big advantage going back to that backlink point. With your listing on the GAF website, that's a high authority website and a very powerful backlink to your website when you're on that page. So make sure that you're there, that information on the GAF website is accurate, and that you've got the link to your website. And then number 10, to round it out, we didn't talk about it here. We talked about it a little bit more in depth on our previous call, but speed is so important today across more factors than it was in the past. So most important from a speed standpoint is, does your website load quickly? And in the context of mobile, visitors are now generating more searches than desktop, so mobile is important. But going down that speed analogy, it's not just about the speed of your website, but the speed of your business. And now Google and even Facebook are measuring how quickly you answer inquiries coming in through your Google My Business listing, or if people are reaching out to you through Facebook, you do want to respond in as quick as you can, and within 5 minutes, because Google will say, Facebook will say, this business generally responds within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 days, and you don't want to have that 5-day tag next to your business name. You want to respond as quick as you can.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. So now we will move on. Before we do the Google Home Mini, I know I'm probably building up the suspense here. So we want to show you guys what the offer is for the month of March, and that is you can save 75% by getting a new website powered by the Surefire Local Marketing Cloud. The offer ends in 3 days, so you'll want to act now. And with that, we will be putting up a poll. And if you want to get that special offer, you can set up a time to speak with a Surefire team member for a one-on-one call to discuss your digital marketing needs. So either select Tuesday, April 3rd or Thursday, April 5th. If those days don't work for you, you can select please email me to schedule a call, and we will pick a day that works best for you. So take a minute here to let us know your answer for the poll, and then we will go on to the Google Home Mini winner. And like what Bob and Jeff mentioned earlier, we can also show you the GeoJuice tool during that call too, if you're interested in that as well. Alrighty, so we'll take a few more seconds here, and then we'll move on to the Google Home Mini winner. I'm sure everyone's excited for that one. All right. We will move on to that. Thank you all for putting in your answers. So today's lucky recipient of the Google Home Mini is Christy. Congratulations, Christy. Please email marketing@surefirelocal.com with your full mailing address, and we will ship that right out to you. All right, and thank you to GAF for inviting us to speak today, and thank you to our panel of experts and to all of you for taking the time out of your day to join us. We hope you learned something new, and also don't forget to fill out the survey at the end and let us know how we all did today. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.